Welcome to the Nicholas 11x12 technology. Today we're looking at the Fractal design Arc Midi R2 mid-tower case. This one comes in at a very low and reasonable price. But how much Fractal design can actually offer for this price we'll see very soon. Before I move on, I'd like to thank Fractal Design for providing me this product. That box, here it is. Nothing too special here. However, I'll not unbox in front of the camera. We'll skip that. There you go. Here it is now, fully unboxed. With the case, you also get a user's manual. The Arc Midi R2 comes with that very clean, simple and elegant look. The front, as you can see, is rounded and everything seems to match perfectly. I always like it when cases are kept simple in terms of the design. The front bezel is out of plastic but has that brushed aluminum look to it, which indeed makes it more special and expensive looking than plain plastic. On the top is a removable cover with lots of ventilation holes and a dust filter underneath. Something that quite amazes me to see at this price point is that Fractal Design equips the Arc Midi R2 with a tinted side panel window. And that's definitely not what everyone does, and I really like seeing side panel windows and therefore wouldn't want any case without one anymore. The other side panel, of course, is just a plain one, as everyone would expect. At the back are some ventilation holes, and what really catches one's eyes here on the back are the white colored expansion slot covers. So yeah, the Arc Midi R2 from the outside looks very promising with its simple design and the tinted side panel window for the price. Now that we've taken a first look at the case, let's quickly also take a look at the specifications. The Fractal Design Arc Midi R2 is a mid-tower case. The dimensions are the following: 460 by 230 by 515 millimeters. These are 18.1 by 9 by 20.3 inches. The mini ITX, micro ATX and ATX motherboard form factors are supported. The net weight of the case is 10.7 kilograms and that are 23.6 pounds. 3 fans are pre-installed already. Now let's take a closer look at the case. Up here are the front panel connections. The power button with a HDD activity LED, the tiny reset button which in my opinion could have been a little bit larger, 2 USB 3.0 ports, the microphone and headphone jacks, and last but not least the built-in fan controller for the case fans. There are 3 modes: 5 volts, 7 volts and 12 volts for max RPM. This case comes with only 2 5.25 inch bays. That's of course not very much, but let's be honest, how many of you do actually install more than 2 5.25 inch devices anyways? So you could consider 2 bays as enough. Taking out the bay covers is very easy by pushing clips to get inside. Unfortunately, this case doesn't come with a toolless 5.25 inch locking mechanism and therefore you will have to use screws. But that's not that big of an issue because Fractal Design was able to save some money there and invested in something more important on this Arc Midi R2. The front cover can be taken off and as I've said before, it's out of plastic. As you would see on most other cases, this case also comes with thumb screws. The side panel removal is straightforward and hassle-free. The quality of it is surprisingly good as it doesn't have much flex to it. The side panel on the other side of course has even less flex to it because it doesn't have a window. By pressing down on the 2 corners here, another cover will unlatch. This one's out of metal and comes with a dust filter. Behind the cover is a pre-installed 140mm Silent Series R2 fan. This also is a mounting point for up to a 240mm radiator here if the HDD cages are repositioned or removed. On the back of the case are some ventilation holes up there. There's another pre-installed 140mm Silent Series R2 fan. However, you could also install a 120mm fan here, or when it comes to radiators, a 120mm or 140mm radiator. Right beside is the spot for the motherboard I/O backplate. Below are 7 white colored expansion slots for the different motherboard form factors and also for Crossfire SLI configurations as well as other expansion cards. On the side, an additional slot. a vertical one. PSUs are mounted on the bottom of the case. Now let's take a look at the other side of the case. As you can see, for a case at this low price point, there are pretty good cable management features. We see lots of rubber grommets here that make hiding the cables a lot easier and also make the system look a lot tidier. What surprises me once again is that these grommets actually don't fall out that easy. These aren't one of these very cheap ones. Of course, there's a CPU cutout hole, so you can install cooler backplates without removing the motherboard from the case. However, the hole is a little bit too small, and therefore the whole idea of such a hole doesn't always work as intended. All the cables are black, as well as the fan cables, black and sleeved. Now on the other side you see, there definitely is room to work with. Once again, the cables are all black. This case supports mini ATX, micro ATX as well as standard ATX motherboards and should also be able to fit pretty long graphics cards. A little bit later, I'll show you how well it actually does that. The ARC Midi R2 comes with 8 HDD bays and the trays are out of metal. The upper cage can simply be removed by unscrewing 2 thumb screws and is also rotatable. By removing the cage completely, you would also allow space for super long graphics cards that at the time of this video don't exist yet. In the bottom HDD cage is the accessories box. Included are the following things: PSU screws, motherboard screws and standoffs, SSD screws, anti-vibration HDD screws, thumb screws as well as some cable ties. Installing drives isn't toolless, but for that there are special anti-vibration features with the help of rubber between the tray and the HDD. The installation, however, is easy and pain-free. Of course, this case also supports 2.5-inch drives such as SSDs. You simply mount your drive onto the tray and that's all. On the bottom, where you mount the power supply, there are 4 rubber feet that will hold the PSU in place. Right beside is a mounting point for a 120mm or a 140mm fan. So when it comes to radiators, you would also be able to mount up to a 120mm or a 140mm radiator here if your PSU and its cables allow it. On the rear is a pre-installed 140mm Silent Series R2 hydraulic bearing fan. You could also replace that one with a 120mm fan here or 120mm or 140mm radiators. Removing the top cover is very easy by just unscrewing the 2 thumb screws that hold the cover in place. The mesh is out of metal and underneath is a dust filter, and that's impressive at this price point. Obviously, there's lots of room to work on your fans or radiators here. Putting the top cover back on is hassle-free and very fast. Now back inside, you see there's the last pre-installed 140mm fan. You can install up to 3 120mm or 140mm fans on the top. However, as for radiators, only up to a 240mm radiator is supported. And only is the wrong word. I'm very impressed to even see water cooling support for a mid-tower at this price point. And as you all know, in many mid-towers you face problems with the interference of the water cooling radiator and the motherboard. Fractal Design has thought of that and has moved the mounting points a bit upwards, so there's enough room for the radiator as well as the motherboard. On the bottom of the case is a nice long removable dust filter that doesn't only cover up the PSU space but also the 120mm or 140mm fan mounting point, just in case you'd have a fan or radiator installed there as well. The case is raised about 1 cm with the help of these 4 pretty good rubber feet, which will also prevent the case from sliding around. Now to the final step, the assembly. Assembling systems is quite easy with this ARC Midi R2, and the finished build looks very professional and tidy. This case is kind of fooling us all. It's pretty cheap actually, but makes a fairly expensive impression. The reason for that probably is the simple design and this side panel window. With the side panel removed, you now see I was able to fit all my components into this case. And as you can see, there's absolutely no problem with long graphics cards or 240mm water cooling radiators. Cable management is a dream for a mid-tower. Not even many of the very expensive mid-tower cases do such a great job. The side panel on the other side even closes without any problems. The only thing that can be a problem sometimes is the CPU cutout hole. As I've said before already, it's simply too small. But other than that, it's a mind-blowing case. This isn't a cheap office PC or so, that's a high-end PC. You can actually really fit a lot in here. The Fractal design Midi R2 is a super cheap case for its features, design and functionality, and therefore has a mind-blowing price-performance ratio. It looks very good, offers good airflow with the 3 pre-installed fans, can fit all the modern PC components such as long graphics cards and even 240mm radiators. Everything is kept black and white. The build quality is really good for the price, and I'm glad Fractal design also has dust filters on the case. Then it also comes with a very nice tinted side panel window to show off your components if you need to, of course. Cable management is also not a problem at all. Of course, it's not a perfect case with some flaws such as the too small CPU cutout hole and the missing toolless 5¼ drive locking mechanism, but it's very close to perfection, especially at such a low price point. I can really just say this honestly is one of the very best mid-tower cases I've ever seen so far at this price point, and it seriously offers everything most of us would need. Pros are mind-blowing price-performance ratio, very elegant and beautiful design, good build quality, the case comes with lots of features and possibilities. It also comes with dust filters, 3 pre-installed fans, a side panel window, and support for water cooling. Cons are too small CPU cutout hole and there's no toolless 5¼ drive locking mechanism. But other than that, the Fractal design Midi R2 case is a brilliant choice and definitely deserves a 10 out of 10. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and visit nicholas11x12techx.com to see videos there earlier than on YouTube.